Okay, here we are at our 7th video, AWS Revisited. And this one is going to be about the Mithridatic War. It's an event, the third event we're doing. Now, in my scenarios that I've called Pax Romana or Imperial Conquest, I have eased new players into this game system, and players that haven't played for a couple years, I eased them into it, and I think it goes pretty well. Now, just some clarifications and maybe a change. The Barbarian event we just finished. The objective for the Barbarians is only to survive by 100 BC. They have to survive till then. And that's a change. So I think before I said take a city or two, but it's just to survive. That is their goal. And if they do that, then whatever forces they had left will remain on the board. Whatever Roman cities they took, they'll keep. The barbarian player will keep. Then you set up this Helvetic force according to scenario 1, Caesar and Gallia. You set it back up here, minus that 2v6 cavalry that I gave the 2 barbarian units. Now, for the Romans' part, their objectives don't change. They need to eliminate the barbarians, which they did. If that happens, everything goes back to the beginning. The 2 consul armies are right here with their 2 Roman legions and 2 auxiliaries. They get any cities back that were taken, and the Helvetic force is still set up right there. So it goes back to the way it was. Again, and Marius, any units that were recruited over and beyond by Marius are returned to the recruit box. And that includes supply units or anything that was built, like engineers or supply that could have been built. So Marius is back here in Rome. Just to make clear, Roman client states are not allowed to recruit those generic units. Those are for client states only, and only the Parthian player who controls the independent client states can recruit these. So in the Numidian War, when Jugurutha had recruited the supply unit, I don't know if I mentioned, but it gets returned to the recruit box because it's a Roman client state, Numidia is, and Romans don't use these units. So with that being said, one more correction. Dealing with the Asian city units, which is here, here, and here, I had tan civis units on them. Well, that's not correct. They're Asian. Asian belongs to Rome. It's a Roman client state. So they get purple civis units. Okay, so that's just a clarification. And this brings us to our third event, which is the Mithridatic War. It's 89 BC, and the Pontius army and the Armenian army, they attack Rome. Now, it takes a little while for Rome to get news, and then they decide, they squabble over who's going to lead this threat. And so for 89 BC, no other forces are allowed to move. Everybody else is inactive. Only the Parthian player with these 2 nations can move. Now, you have King Mithridates with Pontius. He only has a few forces, but he has a lot in their recruit box. And then you have Tigranes here. Now, we have a leader with him because it came in the inspection kit, and he does have a good size force. Mithridates, we had to make that marker. So he's a 2 leader rating V class. And Mithridates starts as the supreme leader for the Parthian player. And so what's the goal here? Well, for the Parthians, remember, their victory condition, they can win an automatic victory by 50 BC if they can take 3 or control 3 Armenian cities and not lose any of their own. So now that they're in control of Armenia, they do control 3 Armenian cities. So all we want to do as a Parthian player is go ahead and make it tougher and take Roman cities. I'm not going to be going over every phase and how to move and attack. We've already done all that. That's the introductory scenarios, I think, prepares everybody to move on and move this game into second gear. They start with a military and a political stratagem. What I want to do is, always you have a supply issue, right, going on. I don't really want to spend military stratagems on Tigranes at all. I want to use them all for Mithridates. And you can see he owns this city here, and you can be in supply from a city on roads if you're 4 hexes from your city. So it just makes sense that Tigranius can operate from supply from this base, go to here or here, and then he can operate even farther out. He can operate even farther out from these bases. So tactically speaking, that's how you would move. You're going to move from base to base and keep your supply going. Now, we've already seen and we learned that moving on roads is really pretty nice. You don't have to worry about a military stratagem, I think, too much, because if you roll a die roll of a 1, well, then you can't move. But other than that, every other roll you can move. Now, if you get a die roll of a 3, then you're going to lose 1 unit. But even if you play a military stratagem, that won't help you with that. You would still lose that 1 unit. The only way that military stratagem is going to help you moving is rolling that 1. It'll allow you to move instead of not moving. So I don't think Tigranius is going to be playing military stratagems as long as I stay on road movement. Now, when you go off-road, you have to use cross-country, and there could be bigger issues. But I don't think I'm going to do much with him. I just want to take these cities. And I want to take these cities over here with Tigranius. And that's what I'm going to do for him. Now, as far as Mithridates goes, we have a year to be unhampered. Now, unfortunately, moving over to this city does not help him with his supply. It's too far, right? It's farther than 4 hexes. So, on the first turn, I think I'm going to go ahead and recruit a supply unit. And then I'm not going to move. I'm going to just kind of let that first turn go by. On the second turn, I'm going to recruit an engineer, and then I'm going to move out. And then, as he moves out, his job is to take this civis unit. I'll either attack by tribute while on the march, or attack by combat. And then from here, I'm going to move out, and Paragama is my goal. Because how many stratagems is Mithridates taking? He gets 2, right? The Supreme Leader. So he gets 2 for being the Supreme Leader. His rating's 2. But that's it. But he doesn't get anything else. But if he takes Paragama, with it being a major city, he's going to get a 3rd stratagem. That's going to be real good. He's going to be a tough force to deal with. So I'm not necessarily going to build him up any stronger. He really don't need that much yet. And as he moves out on the second turn, on the third turn, and the reason I'm bringing the engineer, by the way, is because I want to do a formal siege. Now, if you have an engineer or a I-class or a V-class 5 strength legion, and you'll notice a lot of these other legions around here are not 5 strength, only the Romans are, you can do a formal siege. If I do a formal siege on a 1, 2, or 3, I actually can breach the walls, and then I can go into regular combat, which is 3 rounds. So it really helps to bring that engineer along. That's why I want to do that. Now, as he's marching, taking this and getting to here, I plan on recruiting the legati from the generic unit and the fleet. So the generic units, I'm going to recruit all 4. A fleet, an engineer, a supply, and the legati. And while the legati's here for Pontius, he can be recruiting a troop or 2. Remember, if Mithridates takes an Asian city, he can recruit Asian units. Now, there's not a lot of Asian combat units, but there are just a couple. Let me see. Oh, actually, there's quite a bit. I wasn't aware of that. There's like 8 combat units for Asia, so he can just use combat units from Asia. We don't have to worry about bringing soldiers from here. But the reason I do the fleet is if I do want to transport units, we haven't talked about fleet movement. This fleet, to move on naval movement, is crazy. So on naval movement, there's 2 die rolls. So what is it? 2 out of 6. You can lose half the fleet. Or you can lose just 1 fleet. Well, if you're only using 2 fleets, you're going to lose 1 either way. So if you want to carry something important like a supply unit or a leader, you want to make sure you have 2 fleets, because the chances of you getting a wreck is going to be pretty high. And that's realistic, by the way. I have no problem with that. in the ancient world, ships were being wrecked all the time, and commanders. Now, I know as far as ships were moving around, it probably didn't happen as the percentage-wise, but still, it happened a lot. So I have no problem with the way that's set up, but always move with two fleets. And I want to control with the two fleets these two areas, right? The Bosphorus and the Hellespont, because if I control these, then the Romans will have a tough time marching across it. So that's my game plan, but I don't want to wait too long with Mithridates. On the second turn, I'm going to move them out and get going. And then I'll have the Legati just recruit a guy and a fleet and then get them up here to help reinforce Mithridates. So that's the game plan. And that's how I'm going to move around with that. Well, that didn't go the greatest. So without expending any stratagems, we marched over to here, made it, and then we just kept trying to storm the city. I don't have a lot of stratagems to use. Remember, to use a political to defect. So I tried to storm for 4 or 5 turns and never got it. Now, I didn't lose a unit, because he's shooting back, luckily, but a lot of disruptions going on, but nothing ever eliminated. And again, you don't count zero number, numeric numbers with a siege. They're ignored. So the civis held out. Now, Mithridates did a little better, right? We did our recruiting. We went over to here. I didn't use a military stratagem one time to march, and I rolled a 1. I couldn't move. So other than that, I happened to do a formal siege on that, and I missed, and I actually had to eliminate one of my guys. So I lost one there, so I only have 1 combat unit. However, you can see this as a Tan Civis unit because then I started doing defections after that. I tried to twice to attempt to get that Civis unit to defect, and I succeeded. So, again, this is how long it took. It took the entire year. But because this is my Civis unit, I control this city, and I'm inside it. I'm in supply right here, so I'm good to go. This one's 1, 2, 3. This one I still need the supply unit to get to Paragama, but that's where I'm headed now next year. But now, and then also I recruited the Legate, I recruited the piece I lost, and I recruited the 1 fleet here in those amount of turns. So I'm going to resupply him with some troops, because when I get to Paragama, we do have 1 Asian unit there and 1 Roman legion. So I may have to, again, formal siege, fight. I'm going to have to get them some more strength points. Some more combat units. So I can recruit here, ship them over, but I can start recruiting Asian units also right here. Now remember, that's part of the rules of the game is without a named leader, I can recruit off Asian cities, and so can the Roman player. So one last thing, Tigranius, you can see he's back at his Armenian city, because once you failed to take a forward base, winter comes. So you have to get back to your base and back in your city for winter. Otherwise, the supply can be pretty horrendous to you. So I had to move him back, and then next year he'll start again. But at this point, we're going to have to start dealing with the Romans now, because it's 88 BC, and the Romans are now active. We move this game into 3rd gear. All players are active, and it's 88 BC, and we start a Roman civil war. And I'm going to save that for the next video, all about that. And same thing, we just kind of talk about what I did and go around and have some fun.